hey, you're spending 10k a month on ads or close to that, and you just can't seem to scale past it, and every time you do, things break, call costs go up, CAC goes up, and everything just basically becomes a shit show, then this video is for you. So basically, this has happened for a bunch of clients, obviously with the consulting that we now do. We've seen this fairly often, and a lot of the time people think it's just that they need to change the targeting or just launch new creatives or do something else in the ad account, but quite often that's not the problem, not the way to fix it. So this video is aimed to obviously shift your thinking and then obviously give you some practical solutions to those problems. So yeah, as you can see by the title, you don't have a media buying problem, you have a scaling problem. Obviously, weird for me to say, given that I am a media buyer of 4+ years, spent over like 20 million, for me to say that media buying isn't the problem and there isn't some magical thing that I can do to fix it. But quite often that's the truth. So again, if you're new here, I'm Billy from AdSupport. Again, we have a done-for-you agency, and also we do some one-to-one consulting as well with some big brands, people like Charlie Morgan, William Brown, etc. So we know what we're talking about. Cool. So again, a lot of media buyers always say out loud, but scaling ad spend isn't about finding new audiences or finding some new campaign structure or running CBO, dynamic creative, any of these other fancy things, bid strategy. It's not about doing cost cap, bid caps. It's different stuff. So again, often what you'll see when you try to scale your ad spend, maybe it's past 10k a month, maybe it's 30k a month, maybe it's past 2k a day, whatever it is. If you have your sales team and calendar gets overwhelmed pretty quickly as you scale, you start to have poor lead and call quality, but you don't have an objective way to track it. Your funnel economics basically can't absorb the rise in CPA. So again, as you scale, inevitably cost per lead, cost per call is going to go up, and then as a result, your cost to acquire a customer is going to go up as well. And if you can't absorb those and still be profitable as you scale, that's going to be an issue. And then the next thing is just kind of like you're saying, an email and SNS system. So any system you have in place that's designed to turn leads into calls, if they stop performing or the increased volume breaks them essentially, then you've got a big problem, because it should be that obviously the more leads you create, the more calls you book, but if that doesn't happen, then something's broken. Again, like I said here, your ads are broken, your ads aren't broken, your system is. So as far as what we look at, so again, it's happened a lot of times where we've taken over ads or launched people's ads from scratch, and then as we've kind of started running them, bottlenecks come up, we've helped them solve them. So this is kind of the main things that we look at. So one of the biggest things is just, offer elasticity is probably not the best name for it, but if you don't have a system that's set up to scale as far as your LTV, because again, the way you scale is LTV to CAC ratio. So the higher your LTV is, obviously the bigger higher a CAC that you can stomach, and as such, the more you'll be able to increase spend and tolerate a higher cost per call, because you'll make it up on the LTV. So again, we've worked with some offers and obviously consulted with some people whose price point has been kind of below 3k, or even at times if it's around the 5,000 mark with no back end past that, potentially it could be an issue to scale. So obviously the options here are, if your product's at like 2k, 3k and you're not profitable from ads, then it might be a case of whether it's adding more value to your course, or if the course is already valuable, with the coaching, whatever your offer is already worth it, you could potentially increase the price. But you probably want to be north of 5k for sure for ads to work at their best, and really like much further than that. If you're at 7k, 9k, things are going to work much better. So that's obviously the option there. Increase the front end price. Next would be to create a continuity. So when people, if your course is 6 months, 9 months, a year, whatever it is, have an option for people to stay on, whether it's by paying 500 a month, 1,000 a month, or whatever, anything that's going to increase their LTV. Obviously you want to provide value for that. Maybe they still get access to the coaching calls, still get access to the product for a certain amount of time, whatever it is, do that. If not, there's a back-end product. So maybe you're not ready for a mastermind, but maybe there is a higher level of access that they can have to you, and maybe you want to create tiered levels. So if you do have a 3k, 5k product, that's fine. Maybe you have something that's 9,600, close to the 10k, that's a backend, that's more advanced content, more access to you, more coaching calls, whatever it is. That'd be really the thing, because the higher you can increase the LTV, obviously the more profitable you're going to be with ads. Hopefully the higher your cash ROAS will be, and then you'll make it up on the LTV. So even as you scale, cost per call goes up slightly, you'll still be able to be profitable. So cool. So the next thing is just funnel volume tolerance, and just inefficiency. So we really describe ads as pouring gas on the fire, and if you don't have a solid fire with a pyramid structure, plenty of oxygen to it, and basically a good base, putting fire on the flame will just put it out rather than help fan the flames and build it into a bigger fire. So again, the question here is, does your VSL sales team and back end automate well under load? If you're breaking at 200 leads a day, you won't survive 500. So we've seen this consistently. So there's a client we're spending $500 a day for, $500 a day for, and as soon as we started to scale to 1,000, north of 1,000 a day, things really started to break with just the extra lead volume. So they had inbound setters in place that were able to manage around the 100 leads a day, whatever it was. But then as soon as you push north of that, the pipeline got messed up. They didn't know where to prioritize, and it became an issue, and results went down massively for the setters. So again, we've seen it break. So again, the ways that we've seen it break, setters can't keep up with the lead volume. The calendars get booked out past 3 or 4 days, which massively increases the cost per call. So if there's only like 2 slots on the calendar for people to book, it's going to be a big issue, especially working with offers. The biggest increases we've seen in cost per call, most of the time, is just calendar availability. So if you can keep consistent calendar availability, that's going to be a big positive. And also what can happen too is if you don't manage the calendar availability well by hiring another salesperson or triaging the calls or whatever, is that you then have to increase spend and lower spend, which just creates volatility in the account if you're constantly having to go up because there's loads of slots available, down because there's no slots available. That's just going to create big problems and just obviously mess up your ad results. So definitely don't do that. Obviously, like I've said here, really you only want to have a 3 to 4 day booking window. So if you're getting booked up and having to open it up to 5-6 days, that's a big problem because you will see a massive decline in show up rate past the 3 days. Like you're probably looking at 60-70% show up rates, hopefully, if you've got everything else dialed in, for the first like 1 to 2 days. But once you start getting past 3, it's probably starting to be 50, 40, etc. And it's going to be a big problem. So definitely, that's just a bonus tip there, not anything to do with this, but something to look into if you're not doing that. Next is just creative diversity as well. There's been a bunch of accounts that we've looked at where there's only 1 or 2 winning ads. Again, that's normally enough to scale if you're consistently doing things to refresh those ads and reduce fatigue. So again, the bigger your budgets are, the faster you're going to fatigue both audiences and then also the creative. So if you only have 1 creative, it's a massive risk. Again, pretty widely known business principle that one of anything is a risk. 1 salesperson, one ad platform, one creative is going to be a risk, because if that fatigues and stops working, you don't have a backup plan, you don't have creatives that you can leverage and start scaling into. So again, this is a question I always get asked as far as how many creatives a month. I think at least if you're creating at least 10 ads a month, you're probably in a good spot and consistently testing them, because you don't want the algorithm to run out of ammo. Essentially, if you start your ads start fatiguing because you're showing the same ad to the same people, it just creates a bit of banner blindness, and then you will see results slowly like dive off a cliff to the point that it's not viable anymore. And if you don't have other ads to lean on, then you're in a bad spot. So again, one thing that I want to mention is this isn't just about randomly launching new creative. It's not about randomly producing 10 ads every month. There should really be a plan behind them and a solid hypothesis. You should find out what your winners are, which are your winning ads, if you have them, and then create a plan to do more of that. If you have failed ad tests, you should try and identify why it is that they failed and do less of that. There should really be a hypothesis every time, and then again, you should be able to measuring the impact. So let's say it's having a specific call out in the first 5 seconds of the ad. That seems to be working. Let's do that more. Record a new batch where there's a call out in the first 5 seconds. You can maybe try adjusting the call out, but maybe the test is having a call out in the first 5 seconds. Measure it. How did they perform against other ads? How did they perform against the winning creative, the control? Is this a failed test or a winning test? If it's a winning test, cool. What can we do to improve that further? Whether it's changing the messaging, changing the call out, adding banners that also have a call out on them, adding headlines and ad copy that also have a call out in them, whatever it is. That's constantly how you want to be thinking about it. Like, what's working, let's do more of it. What's not working, let's do less of it. And then just have a Darwinian approach to your ads. So yeah, at least 10 ads a month. Focus on messaging first and then micro changes. A lot of people tend to focus on like the editing style or the background music or the fucking color of static images, when really you want to be focusing on the messaging of the ad as the #1 priority. Once you've proved the messaging, then you can do all those other stuff. Once you have a winning ad that's at scale, Then you can look at how do we refresh this ad. Maybe it's like chopping up the video, maybe it's having a different editing style on the video, changing the thumbnail, changing the banners on the ads, changing the ad copy that goes with the ad, whatever it is. But you don't want to do that stuff until you've got a proven ad, because otherwise you're just wasting your time optimizing something that probably shouldn't be running anyway. Next thing is have a sandbox campaign. So again, different methodologies about this, but I think you should always have at least 20% of your daily budget going to testing, whether that's testing audiences, different targeting, or testing specifically ads. You should constantly have like new ads running in the background so that they can be brought out of that campaign and put into a scaling ad set, and basically combat that creative fatigue. So you should constantly have budget assigned to it. Just be really diligent that you're constantly doing this, because otherwise you're gonna run into issues. So as far as recording those 10 ads, what I would really recommend is that 8 of them are refreshes of your top performing ad, and then 2 are just absolutely brand new angles and ideas, maybe off the wall stuff that you want to try, that's going to be totally different from what you're running right now. Because again, you can get stuck in this thing where you're only creating variations of the top performing ads, and then there's no chance that you're only going to improve something by 5-10% with minor changes. Whereas if you make a huge change to the messaging, potentially you can increase it massively. So that's something that you constantly want to be doing. But that said, focus mostly on the winners if you found them, and then you constantly still want to be producing new angles and ideas, just putting diligence into that. This has happened a couple times recently, and something that I think is very important, especially with ads. So with organic, you're going to attract a certain avatar anyway. Potentially you've done some thought about what YouTube videos you're making or Instagram content you're producing, and that is attracting the right people. But for ads, it's even more important, specifically with Facebook as well. We've seen poor lead quality at scale, especially on Facebook ads, where the targeting is so algorithm based. Slightly different with Google and YouTube ads, because there is more, you can use search terms, etc. There's a lot more control you have over who you're serving your ad to, whereas on Facebook, a lot of it is the messaging in the ad, both in the video, because Google's going to keyword scrape essentially the video, and then also what's in your ad copy as well, like who are you calling out, who is this ad for, and then it's going to make an assessment and show you ads to them. As you probably know if you're watching this video and you've ran ads, looked into ads, whatever, especially on Facebook, broad is one of the best targeting methods, and the only reason that works is because Facebook is, again, keyword scraping, making an assessment of who your ad's for and trying to show it to those people. So if you don't have a super clear avatar, as you scale, as you go into broader and broader audiences, you're going to see results massively dip, because Facebook doesn't know who to show your ad to. So as far as tips for doing this, you really want to decide on a specific avatar for your ad. So maybe it's not just marketing agencies, it's marketing agencies stuck at a specific revenue. Maybe it's 3 to 8k a month. You can speak to the specific problems of those people. You can call them out in the ad, again, in the banners, in the headline, in the ad copy, in the video. And then what I would recommend you do as well is implement lead and application grading, because again, if your CAC is $1,000, $2,000, you don't really want to spend that on an ad before you understand if it's working or not. So you should have some sort of early indicator. And if you have some lead and application grading, again, it could be 1 to 5, 1 to 4, whatever it is. So you can understand the quality of calls and leads coming from an ad before it's spent up to that upper CAC limit. And then the next is just to call out your ideal avatar in the first 5 seconds of your ad and in your ad copy. So yeah, I would still do it on YouTube as well, but I think specifically for Facebook, this is becoming more and more important, that you just tell Facebook exactly who your ad is for, and then that will give them a much higher chance of finding those people. So cool. Next, just to kind of iterate this point around just kind of ad performance and trying to problem solve in the ad account versus looking at the wider system. Again, me and my business partner at AdSupport are lucky here that we have interacted with a lot of offers, and we're very kind of, generalists in a way, where we understand kind of the system as a whole. So that has helped. But anyway, let's get into the example. Enough about me. So one of our done for you clients was stuck at like a 10% lead to call rate, which is probably on the low side. Again, for the best client funnels that we're running, we're getting 15 to 20%. VSL conversion rate for some is even higher than that, depending on if they're B2B, etc. We scripted a new VSL and made some changes to make it more educational rather than just a direct pitch. We saw a 10 to 12% bump. Again, probably like a 2% overall bump from around 10% to 12 to 13%. So that didn't really have the effect that we were looking for. Again, an improvement's good, but I think at the time we knew that the VSL wasn't going to be the fix for this. However, the client wanted us to try it anyway. So as we look deeper, and looked at the best performing funnels and offers that we've worked with and what was missing, we realized that they didn't have any SDRs or cold callers to follow up with their leads. So essentially this is just going to be people or person to call the leads that come through the VSL call funnel who didn't book a call, and attempt to get them booked in with the closers. So with only a 10% booking rate, there's lots of volume to go after. We had 100 plus leads every single day, and obviously only 10 of those, 12 of those were booking a call. So there's 84 people that you can go after and go and call and try and get booked in. So basically this is just a big hole in the bucket. And again, to come back to the previous point, at lower scale you're fine, but then as you start to scale, these problems and holes in the pipeline are going to be become a massive issue. And so this is just kind of like having a leaky bucket, and if you could patch that up, you will again create way more efficiency in the whole machine. So yeah, as we said, as it scaled, that was similar to the point I mentioned earlier. We were fine when we were generating like 100 leads a day at $500 a day, but once we started to scale past that and get into like the 150, 200 calls a day, 200 leads a day, get to the $1,000 a day, $1,200 a day mark, that's when things really started to break, which some of this was responsible for that too. So yeah, really what the goal should be for these setters or SDRs is for them to go one-to-one with the direct booking. So if you're booking 10%, if you're booking 10 calls a day direct, they should aim to book 10 calls as well. So that's kind of what we've seen as the best. Again, there's going to be a ramping up phase if this is a new SDR or they're getting used to your offer or whatever. So I wouldn't expect that out the gate, but that's ultimately what you want to be seeing over the longer term. So just a quick summary of what it looked like when we implemented this for the client. So on October 14th of last year, we implemented the cold caller to follow up with the VSL leads. At the time, the current call rate was 11%. By the end of that first week, again, they were just ramping up. They hit the ground running. They did super well. Obviously, he was a sharp gentleman that was doing this. And so as a result of that, the lead to call rate jumped 20%, which is almost 100% increase. So what I really want to nail in about this is there is not anything I could have done in the account to get a 100% increase in lead to call rate. There's no like ad messaging that I could have used. There's nothing I could do to the landing page even that's going to double the conversion rate of the landing page. So as far as efficiency, this is one of the biggest things that we could have done. And so even scripting a new VSL, launching to different audiences in the ad account is not going to give us 100% decrease in cost per call or 100% increase in quality, etc. So that's why you've really got to look at what the biggest lever is for you to pull. So yeah, and then the results after the first full month of the SDR working was that we spent 31k on ads basically. We had 2,224 leads, a $13 CPL, 273 calls booked. I didn't include the cost per call, but it was about 101. Actually, let me pause the video and grab it. Cool, there we go. I wanted to give you the complete data. So yeah, we've got 273 calls, cost per call of 112.55. The cash ROAS was 2.90. So that's cash collected on the initial sale, which again, I think for this client is around 40% of the total value. It might have been a bit higher that time. Their price point was 5,400 and they collected around 2,800 maybe of the initial purchase basically. And then the revenue ROAS was 4.84. So again, kind of ignore revenue ROAS. You can't really scale on that. Like cash ROAS is really the thing that you want to scale at. And honestly, if it's above 2.5, then you're sweet. A lot of the time, if it's above 2, you're probably good to go, depending on the efficiency and profit margins of your business. Obviously, how many staff you have, what your commission structure is for your salespeople, etc., how much it's costing you to get this much revenue in cash. But you can see from that the impact that it has on the profitability and just the scalability of the system. So that's all I wanted to cover in this video. Any questions on VSL call funnels, application funnels, scaling with YouTube or Facebook, hit me up in the comments and I will see you in the next one.